from the Chief of Police, Dr. Kevin Blake. It makes for very, very pointed, instructive, and in my view, valuable reading. How many people say it makes for interesting reading? It's more than that. It's more than interest. It's more than a peak of the interest, what Kevin Blake set down in that Commissioner's Corner published last Friday. And it tells you about the thinking of the man, and it also gives an insight into the leadership at the helm of this JCF at this time in the history of this country. Over the weekend, rumors abounded about the disbandment of C-Toc, Counterterrorism Organized Crime Investigation Branch. I got messages from everywhere. Oh, I want a C-Toc here, I want a C-Toc. A friend of mine called me about promotions not being done because of the C-Toc issue 16. Then he called back to say 45. Then this and that, the rumors were just flying. And Commissioner's Corner is what gave legs to what the people were speculating about on the weekend. Now, Commissioner's Corner itself, what the commissioner wrote, it has all the context you will ever need. But let me just apply this thing to it. The fact of the matter is, we have a police force that, historically speaking, has overperformed over the past, say, 3 years. The change in the performance, the improvements, the change in the deportment, the change in the professionalism, and people being accepting of the improving police force, all of those have happened in years prior. But let's go with the last 2 to 3 years. If you go by what has happened over those 2 to 3 years, it's fair to say the police have overperformed in how they've managed crime, how they've responded to criminal situations, how they've responded to violent criminals, and where they are putting this country and where they have put this country at this moment in speaking on this day in sports. So that is the real context to look at everything in. And yet, amid this improvement, commendations for the police, pats on the back, Dr. Kevin Blake is sending us a strong message to say, listen, all is not well. Despite the record-breaking performance by the JCF in doing their work of solving crime, responding to crime, preventing crime, all is not well. And then he jolts us by saying, the problem that the JCF has on my watch, people say under my watch, which is still correct, but the real phrase is on my watch. The JCF on my watch, Dr. Blake says, is not being affected by external factors, external forces, but it's rather internally that the problems abound. In other words, there are some among us inside this JCF who by their very conduct threaten to damage us to the extent that we can't give the public a service that they're getting used to experiencing and compromising our ability to produce the results that people are now used to experiencing. Dr. Blake in his column speaks about restoring trust and credibility. I would say to him, though, that the work he's doing, I would suggest, is not to restore trust and credibility, Dr. Blake. It is to establish it. Since the advent of the constabulary force in Jamaica, after the Morant Bay Rebellion in 1865, the police force has never been trusted by the majority of Jamaicans. It's a fact. Go and read history. Our music alone buffets, meaning hit repeatedly, buffets the police, the constabulary, every chance it gets. If you listen to the music, you think every policeman is corrupt. The Babylon system, the police are at the vanguard of the preservation of the Babylon system. Politicians, especially opposition politicians, are always calling for police commissioners' heads, always criticizing the police. Those in charge, as murders run rampant, are always on the defensive about the work of the police. So if you look around in the society, historically, Jamaicans don't love the police because we're told by our musicians or our politicians and people in important places that the police no good, them no good. They're here to preserve Babylon's system. Don't trust them. And I don't know how a country experiencing the murders that we did fed its people a steady diet of police corrupt, police for dead, back squad in a face, gas station, shoot up station, we were fed a steady diet of that for decades. So the people never trusted the police. The police had no credibility with the majority of Jamaicans. Now the situation is changing. So Dr. Blake, you're not restoring anything, because to restore would suggest that you had it and then you lost it. You, sir, following on from some of your predecessors before you, are building that credibility and that trust. Yeah? Come now to C-Toc. We had a story in the bulletin, Mahira Stewart, talking about the Special Investigations Branch. That branch replaces C-Toc. The statement from the JCF did not say that. And the commissioner's observations, lamentations, call to action did not mention C-Toc once in his commissioner's corner. But he was talking about nothing else but C-Toc. C-Toc, effectively on this day in sports, February 9, 2026, has ceased to be. It's like Monty Python's parrot, it's dead. And why has it died? Perhaps it is that things were happening in C-Toc, Tana, before the police inspector was caught with the cocaine in his motor vehicle, for which there's an investigation now. So we treat that with respect. A court proceeding. But after that, the 2 parcels of cocaine found at C-Toc. And the commissioner has said, I'm ripping this all up because he recognizes that through C-Toc, the cancer in the police force is threatening to affect the whole body. C-Toc, based on the checks by the police, was that gangrenous part of the JCF that would putrefy, meaning to make rotten, the rest of the body of the JCF. And the man cut it off, him chop it off, clean, clean, clean. Here's what he said in his commissioner's corner. We have to continue to enjoy the trust and confidence of the people of Jamaica. I address that continue. You're building that trust and confidence now, CP. He says, we have to guard our reputation and integrity like a fortress. Colleagues, confidence and trust are fragile and fickle. They are difficult to earn and easy to lose. Do we simply accept that there are events of criminality that define who we are and what we're defined by? Or do we get to work at rebuilding the trust of those on whom we depend to help see this mission through? He says, resilience, my colleagues, is not only relevant to our effort against murderous hoodlums, it is also about maintaining our credibility and integrity, even while it is threatened from within. The man is telling you why he has to clean house, because he says the reputation of the JCF and the integrity of the JCF have to be guarded like a fortress. And that confidence and trust are fickle and fragile, hard to build but easy to lose. And so he says there are things that threaten from within, and that is why we have to begin the process of healing. He writes further, to heal, we sometimes have to renew ourselves. Again, that's as strong a hint as any. We sometimes have to make sweeping changes, another hell of a hint, to our structures, processes, and systems, changes that will ensure that weaknesses that were exploited are addressed and vulnerabilities removed. Take off your glasses, people. Look with a good eye. That's exactly what he's saying. He's giving you the reasons for this sweeping change of the excise of C-Toc. He says, our response to any such crisis must always place us in a state that is much better than before. These changes that we have to make during the healing and rebuilding process sometimes affect many who themselves are not culpable in any way. And so it is important that you know, talking to the public now, that you're also a part of the renewal effort, talking to the police men and women in the JCF. So what he's saying to the police personnel, please understand why I'm making these changes. And after you understand, walk with me on the path into the light. That is what the police commissioner is saying. And it's a decisive move. because many police commissioners would look at the success that they've been enjoying and believe that they can continue with the structure as it is. Why rock the boat? Why risk demoralizing some people? Why risk alienating some people? Why make this drastic move to cut off a C-Toc that was established in 2015, which has done so much good work, but which has been found by the police commissioner and the police high command to be gangrenous? You remember when they disbanded Mobile Reserve in 2019, the hue and cry? When last you hear somebody say the police have been affected by the fact that the Mobile Reserve have been disbanded? Change can work if change is made for the right reasons. And we must applaud this morning a police commissioner for being in the midst of the unprecedented success of the Jamaica Constabulary Force since 1865, after 1865 when it was formed. Unprecedented success. A lot of encomiums for the police commissioner. He sees the need amid all this success to change. It's like Usain Bolt in his prime, beating everybody and changing a major aspect of his training and preparation because he sees the need to be better, not content with just keeping it here and enjoying success. This is what leadership looks like. But it will only work if the men and women are committed to the path that Dr. Kevin Blake is taking, and if Jamaicans understand and walk with him into the light.